Patients, seniors, families, and small businesses are struggling to keep up with health insurance costs. Even as monthly premiums rise, they still face high copays, surprise bills, and denied claims. Over the last decade, average family premiums on employer plans have increased by 50%, with deductibles up more than 40%. To help explain why healthcare costs are so high, we welcome former health insurance executive, president of the Center for Health and Democracy, Dr. Wendell Potter. How are you, sir?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. Why are families paying more each year in premiums, deductibles, and copays and other out-of-pocket costs while insurers have collected record revenues and profits over the last several years?
One word, and I would say that's greed. These companies, and I saw this firsthand because I worked for two of the biggest companies for 20 years, Cigna and Humana, and I saw how they are, first and foremost, held accountable by Wall Street financial analysts and their shareholders. And everything that they do is in service to their shareholders to make as much money as they possibly can at our expense. And that's why our premiums have increased so much over the years. It now costs $27,000 on average in this country for a family health insurance policy. But even with that, these companies make us pay hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars out of our own pockets before they will begin paying for anything. And they restrict our access to doctors and hospitals, and they increasingly are refusing to pay for things that are a covered benefit, but that they claim that we don't need. So they're interfering in the patient-doctor relationship. And Congress is beginning to pay attention to this and take some action. I'm seeing for the first time bipartisan interest and support for major reforms that would rein these companies in. But to answer your question, again, it is because these companies are under enormous pressure to make as much money as they can for their shareholders. And to do that, they have to not pay our claims and to make it harder for us to get the care that we need.
So true, Dr. Potter, so true. A handful of large integrated health insurance companies come to control so much from the U.S. healthcare system, from prescriptions to doctor visits. What does that mean for patients and families? And you kind of hinted earlier.
Yeah, what it means is it's harder and harder for us to get the medications that we need, even with an insurance card in our wallet. And it's why so many Americans walk away from the pharmacy counter without their medications. They think they have adequate insurance, but they find out they have to pay a lot of money that they just simply don't have in many cases before they can get those medications. And that's largely because these companies, they're middlemen to start with, but they increasingly have become middlemen in the pharmacy supply chain. Cigna, where I used to work, took in more money in 2024, more than $200 billion from one of its divisions called Express Scripts, which is the so-called pharmacy benefit manager, took in more money than Johnson and Johnson and Pfizer and Eli Lilly combined, three of the biggest pharmaceutical manufacturers in the world. That just gives you an idea of how these companies have grown and changed and how much money they're sucking out of our own pockets.
Insurers are supposed to spend about 80% of premiums on patient care. So why does it still feel like consumers are getting so little value?
It's because of the way that they are now structured and the way that lawmakers and regulators have allowed them to grow and change. They're different than they used to be, and I think how most of us think of them. Aetna, for example, it's been around a long time. It's part of a big conglomerate called CVS Health, which also owns and operates more than 9,000 drugstores and retail stores around the world. But it also has one of those PBMs called Caremark. And that company gets more money from Caremark than it does from those 9,000 stores or from Aetna. So it is the way these companies are structured that is the big problem. And they're able to self-deal in ways that you can't get away with in banking and other sectors of the economy. What they do is illegal in banking, for example. They get money from us as we pay premiums, but they take that money and pay themselves because increasingly they own pharmacy operations, they own physician practices, they own home health agencies. So that is under scrutiny right now. Congress is looking at these companies more than they ever have. There have been calls from Republicans and Democrats to break these companies up, and I believe they should be broken up.
Many Americans feel like they pay for health care insurance premiums and taxes out of their paycheck, plus co-pays and fees when they get care. Where is all the money going? You kind of mentioned it earlier.
You're exactly right. Can you remember a time, and I know you can't because it never happened, in which our premiums actually went down from year to year? They've gone up and they've increased, as you noted, very rapidly over the past several years. But even as that has happened, these companies, because of the way they've changed their insurance policies, make us pay more out of our own pockets. Even with all that money, we and our employers are paying. Our employers, for a lot of folks, pay the lion's share of the premiums, but that's keep in mind that that's money that could be going to us in the forms of higher salaries and raises. But instead, our employers are having to ship so much money to insurance companies. It is a scam. It is something that lawmakers need to change. And I'm fortunate because I think for the first time ever, I'm seeing agreement across the aisle, certainly in Washington, but also in state capitals, to rein these companies in and maybe to break them up.
Doctor, where can we go for more information?
Check out the nonprofit that I lead. It's called the Center for Health and Democracy, and I also publish a newsletter on the Substack platform. It's called Healthcare Uncovered. It's free. There's no paywall. So look for us at Healthcare Uncovered and the Center for Health and Democracy.
I've been speaking with Wendell Potter, President, Center for Health and Democracy, and former senior health insurance industry executive. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, James. Thank you.
Producers, before you go, if you don't mind, I want to ask the doctor one more question, if you don't mind, off the record.